When getting into a new game, what's the first thing that you normally buy? For a majority of players, that's going to be a precon, a pre-constructed deck curated by the creators of the game. But what makes a good precon versus a bad precon? What I'm going to be looking for is what comes in the box. Is it just the deck itself, or does it come with a deck box, tokens, or life tracker? Is the deck even fun to play? If it's supposed to be for multiple people, how do those decks stack up against each other? And is the deck even good? How does it stack up against the meta at large? And while I'm not going to be talking about it in this video, what is the financial value of the deck itself? Today, I would like to look at the Alpha Clash 2-player Clash Kit. Released alongside their 4th set Genesis Returns, the decks provided are helmed by 2 mechanically unique contenders boasting 25 health and 1 attack. By far the worst stat line currently in the game. I would like to get this out of the way. The contenders are lackluster. Though they have very unique playstyles and powerful effects attached to them, having 5 less health than the standard 1-attack contenders is a heavy blow when the payoff to having them are fairly setup dependent. Luckily, each deck comes with brand new cards to facilitate those strategies. As with most cards only available in precons, some are good, or even great at what they do, and others are bad or not really worth looking at. Now let's talk about the mechanically unique cards provided in each precons themselves. Each deck comes with 4 mechanically unique non-contender cards. Now, technically the box says 10, but it is including the contenders there. So, are the cards good? Well, I would say that there's 1 apiece in each deck. I think that the 4-cost Pestilence, the one that makes your opponent discard a card whenever it deals damage to your opponent, is fantastic, and just needs the correct shell to actually work. In the War deck, I think that, technically speaking, both Javelins are good, but the hero being bad means that those are pretty much relegated to, oh well, the hero they're meant for is bad, so they're going to be bad. But the 5-mana War can definitely see play, as the 4-mana opposite version of it does see play, and that one actually comes with a tutor attached to it, something that is very uncommon in the game itself. So what about the other cards? Well, the Pestilence deck has a 1-mana Pestilence, a 3-mana Pestilence, and a 5-mana Pestilence. You can see a theme here. The 1-mana and 3-mana Pestilences honestly might as well not have text. They don't do enough to actually feel like they do anything relevant in the game. And the 5-mana Pestilence is entirely reliant on you playing a toxic counter deck. In the War deck, again, the 2 Javelins are going to be relegated to that needs to go in this war specifically. The good part about all this is, the low life totals and easy to understand card effects mean you get to play more games in the time it would take you to play 1 game of normal Alpha Clash. Wait, how do you play Alpha Clash? Well, unfortunately, if this is the only product you bought, you wouldn't know unless you whip out your phone and scan the QR code in the back of the box. I understand that those how to play maps are annoying for some people, but you must include a way to introduce your game to your players that isn't a link to an 1.5-hour long video. The video itself is a fantastic showing of the first 2-player Clash Kit that actually had cards played in the winning deck of the North American Pro Tour. But when a new player buys an introductory product like this, they're much less likely to watch something that long about a game they haven't even played a game of yet. I feel like this isn't supposed to link to that video though, as there is a much more compact explanation of the basics on the Rising Empire Studios main YouTube channel. Both of these videos will be linked in the description if you'd like to give them a watch. Moving on from the lack of a proper how-to, we see that the box actually only includes the decks themselves. No deck boxes, tokens, or additional items to sweeten the deal. Forget sweetening the deal, the box doesn't even come with the tokens required to play one of the decks, let alone the portal which both decks can interact with. Now that I'm done complaining for the most part, I would like to get to the great part of this product, the gameplay. This is actually my introduction to Alpha Clash. My friends had been pestering me to play for a couple of months at this point, and I decided to give the Pestilence deck a shot. I had a blast. The Pestilence deck plays a classic Pox-style game plan aimed at stripping your opponent of their resources, and the War deck is a classic aggro mid-range pile that wants to punch you in the face as many times as possible. The Selective Mulligan works wonders for this as well. Even though the decks only come with a few of the pieces that turn on your contender's main build-around abilities, you're actually more likely than not to hit at least one payoff and start firing on all cylinders. But how do they stack up against each other? I'd say if you play these decks fresh out of the box, the matchup would be 65-35 in favor of the War deck. Don't get me wrong, I love the way the Pestilence deck works, but the deck as is doesn't have a way to consistently end the game. Something the War deck does not struggle with in the slightest. Even if the Pestilence player can get the War player down to no cards in hand, the highest power Clash card in the deck is 3, which is a 9-turn clock from max life. Unfortunately, these decks are far from having the competitive edge when removed from their Clash kit format. Like I mentioned before, both contenders are plagued with the single worst stat line currently available in the game, made worse by having abilities reliant on specific synergies that if you don't get early will spell disaster, as you are essentially playing with a blank card without them. I do not believe that these decks needed to be insanely powerful or even competitive, but when your pre-con contender has a hyper-specific ability that you need to draw into a specific card to play, at the very least it'd be nice to have 30 HP. This is where I will normally talk about if the deck is financially worth it. However, the secondary market for Alpha Clash is in its infancy, so card prices are volatile and hard to tell if they properly reflect the true worth of a card. That being said, I will skip this part. My final rating for the Set 4 Alpha Clash 2-player Clash kit is a C-. Even though I despise that there is not a how-to guide provided in the box, I still think the decks are fun enough in a vacuum that I think it is a fine pickup as long as you're able to find a more digestible video on how to play, or willing to sit through an hour-long video on a Clash kit that I believe is a better buy. With that said, please consider subscribing and giving a like. And do you think I was too harsh on this product? What would you have rated it? And are we in an age where physical play guides are unnecessary? Let me know in the comments down below.